Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to be unpacking a really important California law that's all about putting you in the driver's seat of your own life. It's called the Lanterman Act. Think of this as your guide to understanding the power, the choices, and the independence that it guarantees. Okay, let's start right here with this powerful idea. This pledge really gets to the heart of what the Lanterman Act is all about. It's this core belief that you are the most important person in your life. You're the one making the choices and speaking up for what you want. I want you to keep this in mind because, honestly, it's the key to everything else we're going to talk about. All right, first up, let's explore the fundamental promise of the Lanterman Act. This is the big idea, the foundation that every other right and service is built on. So what is the Lanterman Act exactly? Well, it's not just a suggestion or a guideline. It's the law. It's a formal promise from the state of California that you have a right to the support you need to live a full and independent life, totally on your own terms. This isn't just a nice idea, it's your legally protected right.
So who is this for? The Act covers people with a developmental disability that started before they turned 18 and is expected to be lifelong. We're talking about conditions like cerebral palsy, intellectual disability, autism, and epilepsy. And here's a really key thing to remember. Once you're eligible, you are eligible for life. It doesn't matter how old you are, you can still get services.
This right here, this is what that promise of choice actually looks like in real life. See, it's not some abstract idea. It's about the big, important decisions that shape your world, where you live, where you work or go to school, the friends you have, and the support you get. As you can see, you are the one in the driver's seat.
Okay, so now let's see how this promise of choice translates into specific, legally protected rights. I want you to think of this next part as your personal toolkit, filled with everything you need to make sure you're treated with fairness, dignity, and respect.
This is the bedrock principle, and it is so incredibly important. For way too long, the rights of people with disabilities were often overlooked or just plain ignored. The Lanterman Act says, no more. It states crystal clear that you have all the same rights as anyone else, and, just as important, it creates a system to make sure those rights are always protected.
So let's break down a few of these non-negotiable rights. The right to dignity means being treated like you matter, because you do. Humane care means living somewhere safe with enough food. Privacy, well, that's your right to control your own personal information. And the right to education makes sure you have access to learning, just like everybody else. And this gets to a really key part of the Act. It's designed to encourage you to speak up. These aren't just words on a piece of paper. If you ever feel like any of your rights are not being respected, the system is literally built for you to tell someone you trust, a friend, a family member, or your service coordinator, so that something can be done about it. But the Act goes even further, to make sure you can build a life that's not just safe, but also fulfilling. You have the right to choose your friends and be a part of your community. You have the right to exercise and do things just for fun. And this is a huge one. You have the right to be free from harm. No one can scare you, hurt you, or give you medication you don't need.
So, you have all these really important rights. That's awesome. But how do you actually access them? Well, that brings us to your key partner in this whole journey, the Regional Center.
The best way to think of the Regional Center is like a central hub. It's the organization that was created by the Lanterman Act for one reason: to connect you with the services and support you need to live the life you want right there in your own community.
Okay, so your support team has two main parts. On one hand, you've got the Regional Center, which is the big organization responsible for everything. But then you have your service coordinator. Think of this person as your personal guide. They're the one who's there to help you plan things, get your services, and solve any problems that come up along the way. And that relationship with your service coordinator, it's incredibly important. You really need someone who listens to you and helps you get things done. So if for any reason you feel like that's not happening, you have to remember this: the law is on your side. You always have the right to ask for a different service coordinator. Now, let's talk about maybe the most practical and powerful tool you have in your toolkit, the Individual Program Plan, or IPP. This is your personal blueprint for turning your goals into a real plan of action. Your IPP is way more than just a document. It's a formal, written agreement between you and the Regional Center. It literally lists out your goals for your life and the specific services the center is going to provide to help you get there.
Let's just walk through the process so you know exactly what to expect. First, you build your team, and you have to remember,
You are the most important person on that team. Then you hold the meeting at a time and a place that works for you. In that meeting, the plan gets written down. And finally, once you agree with it, you sign it, and that's the final step that sets everything in motion.
Okay, this is one of the most critical things to remember, so listen close. Always get a copy of your signed IPP. Why? Because once a service is written down in that IPP and signed by both you and the regional center, they are legally required to provide it. It's not a suggestion, it is a binding commitment.
Okay, for our final section, let's cover what you can do when things don't go exactly as planned. We'll also look at how your voice can help not just you, but the entire system for everybody.
This is such a common and important question. I mean, when you're making choices for your own life, disagreements are bound to happen sometimes. The good news is, the Lanterman Act actually provides a clear process for working through them.
The law gives you a clear, step-by-step path to resolve any conflicts. It starts out pretty simple, with a meeting to try and work things out directly. If that doesn't work, you can move on to mediation with a neutral third party. And if you still can't agree, you have the right to what's called a fair hearing, where a judge listens to both sides and makes a final decision.
And you know, your voice is powerful, and not just for your own plan. The law actually requires that people with developmental disabilities have a real say in how the whole service system works. You can do this by joining the regional center's board, serving on committees, or even just sharing your story at public meetings.
So, as we've seen, the Lanterman Act isn't just a law, it's a toolkit. It gives you the rights, the partners, and the blueprint to build a life that you choose. The only question left is the one right here on the screen. How will you use your voice?